I drove a Cadillac. Well, Elvis, he had it all. They say he was the king, but look how happy he was when he split.
Oh, we all need them. We all need some. I really need them this evening. I've got my calculator out. Anyway, I'll get to that in a moment. I need strategy. Yeah, I've got my calculator out. We all need strategies for living, and so are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
You threw me for a loop.
Yeah,
I think I'm ready.
Well, get your calculator out.
Okay.
Hey, folks, welcome into 1017 FM 710 Keel. Welcome into this edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. He's Jimmie Bryant, PhD. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Here's the deal, Jimmie. I need some help already. I'm trying to do some heavy lifting over here.
Okay.
And so I'm going to go ahead and bring Jay Merle in because
Yeah, we need a big gun.
yeah, we need the big guns.
Yeah.
And so Jay, you got your calculator with you?
Here I am to save the day.
I love it. Yes.
Okay, so fellow Jesuit alum.
Yeah,
All right.
a bit older than you.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do some calculating here.
Uh-oh.
Okay. 10.5 million.
That's a lot of money. You talking about dollars?
I am talking about dollars, yeah. Our life strategist this evening has just been awarded, it was awarded a 10 point, and by the way, 1988 graduate
Of Captain Shreve.
of Captain Shreve High School. Yeah. Fellow flyer. So he's been awarded a $10.5 million Centers
That's with an M.
with an M, Jimmie. You see why I'm heavy lifting this evening.
He has gravitas.
5-year, $10.5 million Centers for Biomedical Research Excellence grant by the National Institute of Health. He is the principal investigator of the project that's going to advance understanding of redox regulation of cardiovascular disease.
And we're going to find out what that is.
We're going to unpack all of that when Dr. Chris Kevil comes back as a life strategist here on Strategies for Living. You and Jimmie and I have done our best, but we can't do it. So
No, we need some.
we need Dr. Kevil.
Some help.
Yeah. So, folks, Dr. Chris Kevil is our life strategist this evening. He's going to tell us how many zeros. He's going to tell these two Jesuit guys how many zeros that is. We appreciate you tuning in here to Strategies for Living, and we'll let you know that we are presented by Pintail Roofing.
Roof.
We're presented by Film Prize Fest, a festival of film and food and music and fashion and stand-up comedy. We're presented by the Robinson Film Center, by Azalea Cleaners, by Learning Rx, by Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and by the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment, we are bringing back Dr. Chris Kevil. He's been a life strategist a couple of times here on Strategies for Living, but Jay found about 10.5 million reasons to ask him
Reasons.
back.
He's got reasons to crow. He's done good one more time.
There you go. We'll be right back.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning Rx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning Rx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning Rx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning Rx Shreveport.
Welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel, Jay Merle, Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian. Let's welcome our life strategist. He is the Vice Chancellor for Research and the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies. He's Director and Principal Investigator of the Center for Redox Biology and Cardiovascular Disease. He's also a professor in the Department of Pathology, Molecular and Cellular Physiology, and Cellular Biology and Anatomy at LSU Health Science Center. It's a pleasure to bring back Dr. Chris Kevil to Strategies for Living. Dr. Chris.
Welcome.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm having trouble with my calculator, and I thought Jay, he sung Here He Comes to Save the Day, but I don't know that he helped me a lot, Dr. Chris. 10.5 million. How many zeros is that?
Yeah, that's quite a lot of zeros, actually. At least 7 of them that we can count.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me tonight.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be back on the show.
Well, I know you're very busy. You always have an open invitation to come on anytime. But Jay told me I had to have you tonight because we had to figure out, what's going on with this 10.5 million. 2 Jesuit guys have to. That gets our attention.
We I guess some good comes out of Captain Shreve. What do you
I know.
Every once in a while.
All right, now we're not going there.
So this was a competitive deal, wasn't it, Chris?
Oh, very much so. As we've discussed before, and I think many of your listeners may have heard in the past, that the funding that we receive is from the National Institutes of Health. And so the grant is, all grants actually that are submitted to NIH are competitive. So you're going up against peers and heavy hitters from across the nation at larger institutions and very prestigious institutions. So it's very competitive.
Congratulations. What is this going to allow you to study? What is this going to allow you to do in studying cardiovascular health?
Right. So this is going to allow us to continue essentially what the work that we began roughly 5 years ago, where we were increasing research into ways that individuals get heart disease,
right? How
your heart and your blood vessels become ill and become sick. Just as a reminder for everybody that still the number one killer in the United States, as well as the state of Louisiana, is cardiovascular disease. And in fact, unfortunately, Louisiana is in the top 5 states in the nation that suffer from cardiovascular disease.
Wow.
So work that we've done over the past 5 years has really begun to advance that. We've recruited some phenomenal researchers from across the nation, places like Columbia, places like University of Michigan, other prestigious institutions, because they recognize the ability to do collaborative and impactful work, and that the momentum of the work that we've got going on here at LSU Health Shreveport is very unique. So this next 5 years, we're going to build even further from that, where we begin to take our discoveries at a basic science level and we begin to put them to use or to test in clinical settings.
Now, you're studying redox regulation of cardiovascular disease, Dr. Chris?
Yes.
All right, break that down. Break that down for us, because that's
right.
That's a lot of big words for a couple of Jesuit guys.
Come on.
No, I understand, and I think the gentleman certainly can follow this one for sure. So the concept of redox is essentially what we call reduction and oxidation. So I think many people and many of your listeners will have heard of something called oxidants, and then will have heard that that antioxidants, if you take antioxidants, that can combat the effect of oxidants.
Right.
That's true. All of that's true, but it's far more complicated than just those two terms and those two classifications. And what we've begun to realize and work across the nation is that this concept of redox comes into play in many other disease settings. So, for example, one of our research project leaders who comes to us from Northwestern University, not Natchitoches, but Chicago,
Right.
has been studying essentially personalized medicine responses by looking at, say, for example, chemotherapy for cancer. We know many of the chemotherapies for cancer can cause cardiovascular complications.
Right.
And we're learning that that is due to an imbalance in the antioxidant and oxidant relationship. And this gentleman who comes to us from Northwestern is able to engage in this new $10.5 million grant to really address this so that we can hope and find ways to alleviate cardiovascular complications in individuals that have to get treated for cancer. And that's just one example.
Right. So you've, in the last 5 years, as you have been studying this, you've already made some significant advances in the study. That's one of the reasons you got this grant, right?
Right. There's been a wide range of advances. And in fact, if one looks at the amount of NIH funding that's coming to LSU Health Shreveport, it has continuously grown over the past 7 years. And one of the areas that it leads in growth is in cardiovascular research. So that means that we have made discoveries, for example, in individuals that suffer from AFib, which is atrial fibrillation, and we know that that involves an imbalance in redox. I just told you about discoveries of individuals that may be taking a chemotherapeutic agent and it impacts their heart. During the pandemic, actually, we were one of the leading institutions nationwide, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but really the virus that causes COVID-19 significantly affects the cardiovascular system, and it does it through altering the redox status. And then we have clear evidence that, not only evidence, but advancement in cerebral vascular, so in other words, brain blood vessels, and how that influences susceptibility to stroke and Alzheimer's disease.
We are catching up this evening with Dr. Chris Kevil. He's our life strategist here on Strategies for Living. Let me talk to you for just a moment about Prize 2023, an experience like no other. It's coming up October the 13th through the 21st. It is certainly not too early. Prize Fest is here, so you want to get your passes. You want to find out what the competition events are. You want to get the party schedule. How do you do that? PrizeFest.com. You know, Prize certainly is a competition, and it's also a festival. And you've got 5 disciplines: film and food and music, fashion and comedy. Over $100,000 in cash and prizes each. And that money's significant, and in fact, for some of these folks, life-saving. But it's so much more than that, because it's not so much about the money at Prize. It's about the opportunity for creatives to grow and elevate their careers in filmmaking, culinary arts, music, fashion design, stand-up comedy, and we get a lot of fun. We get a lot of events.
We get a heck of a show.
We get a number of shows
and a
number of parties, special events. It's just packed. It's packed over, from the 13th through the 21st, couple of weekends. Prize 2023. You go right now, prizefest.com. That's the way you get your tickets. That's the way you find out what's going on. Prizefest.com. the thesis. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmie Bryant, Jay Merle, David McMillian. Dr. Chris Kevil is our life strategist this evening. I understand that you may be eating a lobster or two as we speak, Dr. Chris. A little birdie told me that.
He is not in this time zone. Okay, there's a reason he's not in the studio. He's far, far away.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, he's about as far away in the Northeast as you can get, and not be a Canuck. What? What'd I say? Did I say something wrong?
I don't know. I'll leave that between you and Dr. Chris.
You're in Maine, Chris. What are you doing up there?
I am in Maine, and I am actually up here for an NIH conference.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's actually, rather
timely that we're talking about this.
Yeah. So what really has happened over, like I just said earlier, 5 years, but even more so recently, gathering much more steam, is individuals from NIH, in particular. This past weekend has been representatives from the National Cancer Institute, representatives from the National Institute for Neurological Diseases and Sciences and Stroke, individuals from Duke University, representing our university, people from UPMC, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, a lot of great places. And come together, this conference that NIH put together to look at the cross-pollination between concepts known as metabolism. So, for example, the foods we eat, the behavior we do, they impact things such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, and obesity, all at the same time. And it's very complex. We've learned a tremendous amount. There are new drugs that continue to come on the market, and there's new opportunity to be able to continue studies, and in particular do clinical studies that help patients that either have cancer or have obesity and cardiovascular disease. So it's been a really enlightening, exciting, and educational meeting, and we'll be bringing a lot of that new information back down to LSU Health Shreveport.
Can't wait. Sorry for the teasing. We thought you were up there eating lobster, but obviously
he's eating lobster. I already got the down low on this.
It's not pleasure, Jay.
This isn't total,
it's business.
Well, yeah, it is, but a man's got to eat.
Well, I tell you, this is the thing that's really entertaining. Being the token Louisianian pretty much everywhere I go, and in particular up here, because, many of our brothers and sisters from Acadiana up here ended up down in
That's right, just up the road.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
They go, well, Dr. Kevil, our crawfish here are a little bigger than yours down south, and we call them lobsters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I eat them just the same, no problem.
There you go.
But they, of course, have more lobster up here than you know what to do with.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really nice.
One thing that I want to, I know Tom Arsenault, and Tom, and of course he's on this real mission. I love Shreveport. The I Love Shreveport mission, and
good mission to be on.
It is a good mission to be on, and back when I was a kid, there was this thing that the Chamber of Commerce was fighting, and the newspaper called it Shreveportitis, and it was this notion that this isn't that swell of a place, but if you look around, I mean, our medical community in this area is. It's just quite impressive, the amount of medical science and medical education, and this is a center for healing in this region. And what Dr. Kevil is doing has obviously achieved some national recognition. Of course, Dr. Golly Golly, who was the chancellor at LSU, is world renowned in his field, and of course he's at Willis Knighton now. But Chris, a little bit about you. I mean, you graduated Captain Shreve and went off. Give us a little bit of your bio. What was your path to where you are now, and how did you make the decision to come back here and do what you're doing?
Right. My path to do what I do today was not predicted or predictable. It was interesting when I got into college and started off the Louisiana Scholars College, which is still on Northwestern State University's campus. I quickly realized and learned I was very good in science. So much so that the major professors were really like, Kevil, you sure you're finished? And I was like, yeah, I'm done. And, of course, I headed off to the lake or to, wherever else. And it was second nature. And it was fascinating because it was at that point that I began to realize that the aspect of being in a laboratory and making basic science advances, and in this instance was biomedical advances, was really an option and really fantastic. We're so fortunate in the Shreveport-Bossier area to have LSU Health Sciences Center in Shreveport, because it was individuals such as myself and even other individuals before me, such as Dr. Nick Getters, who's chair of pharmacology, toxicology, and neuroscience. Nick is a Shreveport native as well.
Yes,
and
a Jesuit grad, and we
that's right.
Grad, correct. and we'll all tell you. In fact, the gentleman we recruited back from Columbia was originally a Bossier native, and he's done phenomenal things. His name is Art Yurtigal. With these resources and opportunities that we have here, I was able to get my PhD here at LSU Health Shreveport in molecular and cellular physiology. As you just said, Jay, we've a real rich history of phenomenal medical treatment as well as biomedical research that I even heard about again this past weekend, where people would, still tell me, boy, Chris, we really love visiting Shreveport, and people do love to come visit because they know the high quality programs we have.
All right.
But from there, I left and went to the University of Alabama in Birmingham. Don't hold that against me. There's a whole other story there.
UAB
has nothing to do with.
They've got a stout program. Yeah, sure.
And you did your postdoc there, didn't you?
I did my postdoc there, and my wife was finishing her residency in OBGYN, obstetrics gynecology. And, we started looking around as to where would we go next. We had our first child at that time, and we were excited. We were ready to take on the world. And, folks back home in Shreveport said, hey, come give us a look. And we were looking at many other cities. And to be honest with you, it was an ideal situation. And it's not that we were not looking to go to Shreveport. We just kept our eyes open, and we moved back. And it was both a blessing and a unique opportunity for both my wife and I. She's, started a practice, had many years of success in her practice, and then started my career at LSU Health, and we never looked back. And we've been able to help contribute to the growth of these areas. And I think a lot more good is yet to come.
And you've seen some, obviously, some phenomenal growth in your department over there. Mm-hmm. Give us a little bit of the history, and I know we got to go to a break in a sec, but give us a little bit of history about how all this, the research arm of the medical school got started.
Right. Right. So, Jay, you mentioned a moment ago about Dr. Golly, who was chancellor at the time, and I was leading the new cardiovascular center that just had become created. And he talked to me as he was coming in as chancellor and said, Chris, would you be interested in serving as a vice chancellor for research? And, I was very flattered and very appreciative, but I said to him, Dr. Golly, I said, thank you for the offer. I said, but I want you to know I'm not going to, stop being a scientist. And the only reason I'm really interested in this is because we have the potential to grow at the institution. And, he goes, Chris, that's why I asked you. And I said, well, that's great. And, he was fantastic. He was incredibly supportive of
He had a
research.
vision.
And he had a vision. And when we started, our research program at our institution had contracted a bit, and it was down. And we put in place a strategy for growth that we've been working now for the past 6.5, almost 7 years.
Mm-hmm. And
And we've gone from essentially being at a very low level of NIH funding to having well over a 300% growth in
Wow.
NIH funds over the past 6.5 years.
you earn that. You earn that by publishing and making new discoveries. They don't just throw that around like,
Correct.
oh, these guys might.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, you earn those
Yeah.
those
Right.
grants. And,
Right. You earn these things, and they're competitive, as I said at the beginning of the show. But, the other thing is we also, with the papers that are published and the discoveries that are made, we've converted these to patents, to what's called intellectual property. And we've actually been quite prolific in this within the LSU system. And that's also been helpful because it's helped contribute to the local economy, contribute to different people wanting to move and relocate here, whether they're faculty or whether they're professionals such as business or even science. So it's a multifactorial influence and impact.
Where do you see LSU Health Science, let's say, within the next decade, Dr. Chris? Where do you see us going?
Yeah, I see us continuing to grow. We're really in a good position where we are able to not only continue the momentum but add to it with recruiting new faculty. As I think many of your listeners may know, we have a new chancellor at our institution, Dr. David Guzik. We're very fortunate to have him. He comes to us from the University of Florida Health System, where he was president. Before then, he was also dean of the School of Medicine at the University of Rochester. And he's also a National Academy of Medicine member, which is a very prestigious honor. And he also understands the importance of research. So I think, where we've been, where we are now, and then where we have the potential to go to is going to be phenomenal. As I think, we talked in the past, during the pandemic, we created the Center for Emerging Viral Threats. And there's a brand new medical education building that's about to open up at the end of the year, and or hopefully slightly before it. And within that medical education building is a brand new, what we call BSL-3 laboratory, stands for Biological Safety Laboratory 3, that will allow us to recruit leading top-notch scientists from around the nation and then perhaps even across the globe that allow us to continue to advance our expert virology research that we have going on. So there's a lot of potential. We really have some exciting things happening. And I know I mentioned neurology earlier, but just as an aside, our efforts through the Center for Brain Health have resulted in a fantastic collaboration with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, as our site being one of the Black PD site members. And the Black PD trial is a trial that specifically looks at genetic susceptibility in African Americans and non-traditional individuals, because the majority of Parkinson's disease.
Let's expand on that, Chris, when we come back. We got to go to a break, but let's expand on that when we come back.
Sure.
Dr. Chris Kevil, Vice Chancellor of Research and Dean of the School of Graduate Studies at LSU Health Science Center, our life strategist. He was talking about the great things about Shreveport. Of course, LSU Health Science Center is certainly that. Another one is
There's some more, David.
The Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. It's a gym. There's no place like the
Nothing
very
like
unique.
it. That's right.
Abby Singer's Bistro, of course, full-service bistro and bar, second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner. Tuesday through Saturday. You can check out what's going on. Always see what films are opening at robinsonfilmcenter.org. Now, a lot of people are waiting for The Blind.
That's right.
It'll open later this week. Of course, it's the story of the Robinsons, right?
That's right.
And we all know the
dynasty,
the Duck Dynasty, folks, and all of that. So what a great place to see The Blind, the Robinson Film Center. Let's join the crowd and join the fun. Robinson Film Center has 15 candles on the cake. We need to make sure we double that, triple that, quadruple that, and then we're getting into those numbers that I can't deal with
because you're running out of fingers.
That's right. Yeah. So become a member, get discounts on movies, get concession upgrades, get bistro deals. RFC 617 Texas Street, RobinsonFilmCenter.org. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmie Bryant, Jay Merle, David McMillian with Dr. Chris Kevil from LSU Health Science Center, Vice Chancellor of Research, Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, and our return life strategist here on Strategies for a Living. So, you've already talked about so many things that you've got to be on top of the world about, Dr. Chris. You probably like Monday to get out of bed and go to work.
It is always interesting. It is always exciting. And it's even better when we're able to make a positive impact in the community.
Well, in that regard,
yes.
Expand on what before we went to break, expand on that new field that y'all are doing research in and the promising discoveries that you're making in that regard. Right.
So, what we realized during the pandemic, and we knew this before the pandemic, but I don't think it was in the front of everybody's mind that when communities have an academic medical center in them, they're very fortunate because they're able to have the latest contemporary either medical care or biomedical research at their disposal. And that was helpful, tremendously helpful during the pandemic. But now what we've done is we've pivoted to be able to make sure we bring those advances and opportunities in other areas to our region. And to do this, we've engaged in a partnership with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I think most of the listeners will know that the M.J. Fox Foundation focuses on Parkinson's disease.
Right.
And historically, the research in Parkinson's disease has focused on one group of individuals, predominantly white Americans. They've not really involved Black Americans or Hispanic Americans or anyone else. But we all get Parkinson's disease, and we all, may or may not have similar reasons for getting Parkinson's disease. And we do know that there are genetic susceptibility factors for it, but that's not been well identified across the spectrum. So that's what this trial called the Black PD study is about. And Dr. Liz Disbrow, who's the director of the Center for Brain Health, is the PI, the principal investigator of this trial. And she's been doing a phenomenal job working with community organizations, churches, community and civic leaders. And our citizens have been, eager to participate in this trial, where we look for, the trial, I should say, looks for genetic susceptibility markers in conjunction with Michael J. Fox and NIH. So and again, we're one of rather 5 trial sites in the United States, and we're the leading enroller in this trial.
How big is the group?
Community.
How big is the group, Kat?
Yeah, so each site is somewhere in the neighborhood of several hundred individuals, and that's what they're trying to achieve. But we're leading that by far.
So it's going to be a big study.
It's going to be a huge study, and it's going to make a difference in the way we treat Parkinson's, and I think it'll also have positive knock-on benefits for Alzheimer's disease, which again was the focus of this meeting here. One of the focuses of this meeting here this weekend, and the individuals from Duke University that have been leaders in AD, is what we call it, Alzheimer's disease, have recognized that, again, we have to be open-minded and we have to bring opportunities to communities that are really disproportionately affected by these diseases.
You know, when you walked across the stage and got your diploma, we were kind of joking at the beginning of the program. Did you have any idea where all of this was going to lead, Dr. Chris? Any idea at all?
No, not at all. Not at all.
What would be your so you've already earned your life strategist stripes many times over already, but I'm going to make you work again because there may be people listening right now that needs to hear whatever you're going to say. What was for you? What message do you want to give to all of us? Some people may be listening to us who are searching. You're a prime example of following your guidance, and I guess a lot of that was inner guidance. Because like you said earlier, are you through? Yeah, I'm through. But you weren't. Thank goodness you weren't.
Right. Yeah, and it's really, that's an interesting question. It's a tough question sometimes because, I think each of us has not only a journey that you walk, a path that you walk, but and it varies for each individual, but there are life skills, traits that are key for being able to walk it and stay on the path. And the definition of success for any one individual is different. And just because you see somebody have a successful business, or you see somebody that gets a degree that's really prestigious, those are great things. But I know many people in our community that I've been friends with for a long time that are making equal impact. And I tell you, some of the key things that are essential for that are having this tenacity, this ability to dig. That we all know that will suffer setbacks or will suffer trials, but being able to persevere is a big characteristic. And then the other thing that I really love, honestly, about our community and our city, and that's both Shreveport and Bossier, is that we have a sense of community.
Yes.
And Jay, you're right. There are some Shreveport doubters or things of that nature that I've run across. But at the end of the day, they do, I believe, and they've told me, care about the city. When they do the doubting and things of that nature, they're just frustrated because they don't know how they can make an impact. Right. And what I tell them is, get in the ring.
Yep.
Just go in. That's the third thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that so we got a great sense of community, but even if you don't know exactly where you fit in, engage, lean in, participate. And people, I think, are surprised sometimes that when they do that, they recognize many opportunities available for them to make a better impact on both their community and themselves.
Yeah. I know that, this may sound overly simplistic, but I mean, if I do nothing, probably nothing's going to happen. If I do something, something may happen. And here's what I've heard from you, Dr. Kevil. There's a lot going on in our community, particularly at LSU Health Science Center, particularly in the Kevil lab, if no place else, where, it's not just luck. It's tenacity. It's hard work. It's, yeah. And so keep after it.
Yeah.
Chris, we really appreciate you coming on, man. I just,
oh, no. Thank y'all. And, I was going to say to David, to be honest, it's a community, it's a team, even up at LSU Health.
Yes.
Because while it's great that I get the grant, it wouldn't be possible without the phenomenal people that we have.
Yes. Yes. And if you, if you want to find out who some of those people are throughout LSU Health Science Center, LSU hs.edu. If you want to find out more about Dr. Kevil and his work, go to the site and put in Chris Kevil, PhD, and you may get more reading than you than you know what to do with. The publications alone will keep people busy if they're interested in it for quite some time. Well, Dr. Chris Kevil, thank you so much for being a wonderful life strategist. I know we probably need to let you get back to whatever you're doing. So,
being awesome,
eating lobster,
and I hope I hope that you will come and join us in studio again very shortly.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much, and look forward to being there in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Chris Kevil from LSU Health Science Center. Let me talk to you about something that's been going on for 101 years. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater, enriching our lives. It's American theater at its best. Of course, always Patsy Cline was a sellout. They added performances. They sold those out. So here's the deal. My Way, the music of Sinatra, coming up October the 27th is when it opens, runs through November the 4th. You want to go get your tickets right now, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. While you're there, check out all of the rest. The Wonderettes are back with Winter Wonderettes in December. 5 women wearing the same dress in January. Dial M for Murder in February and March. And Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville in April. ShreveportLittleTheater.com, 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. It is American theater at its best. We have it right here, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian, Jay Merle. I am glad that Dr. Chris Kevil, and it underscores what we talk about a lot. Is there's more here.
I know.
So much more here than we give ourselves credit for.
It's the people, and it's the institutions that have been built by prior generations that, you know a little bit about the building. The medical school got
medical
started,
school.
Back in the late 60s, but the lead up to that and the people that made the med school happen, and that has blossomed into what we have today, and it's a regional center that has
we attract the population around a whole lot of people in here.
Yes,
because of LSU Health Science Center.
Yes. It's a really big deal.
It is a big deal, and we need to really understand what a significant asset it is for our community. I mean, Dr. Kevil kind of touched on this, but there's a lot of communities that would love to have
Well, and that's how
a center like LSU Health Science Center.
This is how we do it. We give people like Dr. Kevil the opportunity to sit down with us and lay it out for us, and so we can digest it and chew on it, because it's hard to appreciate something you don't understand.
Absolutely.
And so,
and thank goodness we have people like homegrown people like Chris Kevil, who may have walked across the stage and got his high school diploma. We tease him at being a Captain Shreve guy, but he actually, I think, graduated over at the high school within Northwestern State University. But he went to that Northwestern State University. His bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I'm a little
in
confused about it. There's a special school within the school over there.
Louisiana School. Is it what became Louisiana School?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's a scholars.
Scholars college.
College and scholars high school, and I think it's the last 2 years of high school.
It is.
And I mean the elite
best of the best.
From all the best of the best get invited.
Yeah.
To that program, and so Dr. Kevil could have gone a lot of places, but he chose to come home, and so I think that's in addition to everything else we learned this evening. I just want to leave it there, and
it's a good place to leave it.
Yeah, and Jay, thank you. You did a great, as always. You do a great job lining folks like Dr. Kevil up.
I am just very fortunate to have friends and acquaintances that inspire me, that have done amazing things. And
hey, man, you're 4 for 4. I mean, really, you've been on a roll.
Yes, he has.
And
we're gonna encourage him to keep that up, right?
By all means.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get him up on the roof, and you never know what he'll do.
You never
know what it is. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for a Living. We are presented by the folks that can get up on your roof and tell you what's going on. Pintail Roofing.
Roof.
We're brought to you by Azalea Cleaners. We're brought to you by the Robinson Film Center, by Learning Rx, by Hempress, Cannabis with Love, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, by the Shreveport Little Theater, and by Prize Fest, a festival of film, food, music, fashion, and stand-up comedy. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Dr. Chris Kevil, for Jay Merle, for Jimmie Bryant, I'm David McMillian. See you next time here on Strategies for a Living.